Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Chit Chat Live with DC. I am so excited you guys are joining us today. For all of you guys who are new here, I am your host. I also started this series because I wanted to give people tools and tips, honestly, how to start living your best life now. So, this program is going to have a year coming up in May. So, as we transition in this program, I wanted to add a little more because it's all about giving you tools, practical advice, things you can do right now. And what better way to do it than to bring some subject matter experts? Honestly, bring some people who are, one, living their best life now, two, doing amazing things, and have tons of resources. So today I have the incredible pleasure of bringing an amazing and talented lawyer. Imagine that, amazing and talented all at once, Mr. John Ross. John is an elder law estate planning, and believe it or not, completely changed my life and the way I saw my future. It was amazing. But before I bring John on the show, go ahead, give this episode a like, give us some love, share with some people, invite people. Growth is always better together. One of the things that if you're watching us live, or if you're watching the preview, if you have any questions during the program, put it in the comments. That way I'll be looking down to make sure that I'm covering your questions. You have questions for John, that would be amazing as well. So let's say hi to Mr. John. Hi, darling. How are you?
Hey, hey,
How are you doing today?
doing wonderful. Just peachy. Just here from my hot springs office to talk to you.
Well, let's see how I do with technology. Let's see if we can get back John and we're going to get us ready. Let's see if I can master this art.
Woohoo!
Woo! I know my mother's like, can you not have this weird screen? I was like, it'll be fabulous. It'll be pretty. We can make this happen. So,
That's
for
right.
every I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad you decided to let me play with screens and funny things. So, for everybody who's not prepared, we're going to talk all about estate planning. So, I had the honor of meeting John. I want to say it's been 5 years. Can you imagine that? It's been that long.
Absolutely.
Yes, the very first
Cool.
time I got to meet John, he was giving a lecture at Altrusa, which is a nonprofit organization, which is amazing for anybody who's familiar. And he was talking about estate planning. And believe it or not, I was in the military. I thought, all I need is a will. What else can I possibly do? And then John started talking, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not prepared. What is this all about? So tell us, John, what is estate planning? Tell us a little bit about for anybody who's not familiar.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big picture of estate planning, right? It's you're trying to look at several different things. People like you. I mean, you have the kind of the common thing of, well, I need a will, right? That's something everybody knows about. Wills have been around forever. You can actually go on, I think, Ancestry or something like that, and look at William Shakespeare's will.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, you should, just so that you can see that he left his wife his second best bed.
What happened to the first bed? Why did he leave him the second best one? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like what happened to the first one?
And it's kind of a funny thing because you're like, that seems like a dig, right? I
Yeah.
mean, but if I understand it, in that time frame, the nicest bed in the home was reserved for guests.
Oh, okay.
So the second best bed would be the marital bed. So it's actually not anywhere near the kind of gut punch that it sounds like.
Because it sounded awful. I was like, he left her what? That
Yeah,
was.
you get the other bed, not the
I,
good one. You
I'm
get the
gonna
other one.
die, so I'm gonna leave the best one to somebody else, and not the wife. Okay,
That's right.
I
Right.
appreciate it.
But I guess my point there, I mean, right? I mean, I don't remember when William Shakespeare died, 1400 something. I don't
Long
know.
time.
But so that obviously the concept of having a will has been around for a long time. So that's what most people think about. They forget about what happens before you die. They forget about what happens after you die. And frankly, they don't even understand the process of how things transition in between. So, good estate planning, a good looking toward the future is going to have a plan for incapacity. It's going to have a plan to transition the assets at death, and it's going to have a plan to predict things that could have happened to the beneficiary.
Okay.
Big,
So here's my thing. You said one phrase to me that changed my life. And I tell this to everybody, and everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. So the one thing you changed, like, dying is easy, is everything else that is not going to work out. And I was like, oh my God, how right is that? So what does that mean for people who never thought about it? Like, because most people think I'm going to die. It's like, well, if you die, it's not going to affect you in any form, shape, or way. What does that mean for everybody else?
Right. I mean, that's the kind of the thing, right? I mean, you're gonna die. I often joke that when you see like lawyers on TV and they're standing on top of an 18 wheeler talking about how much money they can get you, but then if you read it along the bottom of it says that we cannot guarantee results, right? I guarantee results. You're gonna die.
You sound like a horoscope. Like, by the way, Aries, you're going to die. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
you're,
okay.
you're, you're done, right? That's coming. We know this is coming. Um, but we're trying to figure out how to plan for all of these sort of things because chances are, and particularly, I mean, really for just about anybody, you're probably going to be incapacitated for at least a period of time before you die,
Okay. I can follow this logic along. This makes sense.
right?
What if,
Even if you're a young person, if you're a young person, it's probably going to be something like a car wreck or some sort of accident. And it's not necessarily going to kill you right away. You may be in the hospital for days, weeks, months, who knows? But during that period of time, the rest of the world doesn't stop moving just because your body stops moving, right? So, I mean, have you ever tried to call the phone company if your name's not on the account?
oh my God, I tried to help my parents with simple things like, hey, can we get you registered for like the COVID vaccine? And in order to get that, I was like, well, the person has to be here and the person has to do this. Every single thing, somebody has to be there. So if they're not
Exactly.
able to talk, what do you do?
Right. My wife set up our cell phone service, right? So whenever we, move to Texarkana and she goes down to Verizon and gets us new cell phones and all of that, and that account is in her name. If I need a new cell phone, I got to drag her butt over to Verizon so that she
Yep.
can tell them, yes, John can get a new cell phone, right? And that's just inconvenient right now. But if she's had a catastrophic brain injury, she's never going to speak again. We've got a problem. And
And this is minor because you're only talking about a cell phone. Like, we're not even
right,
talking
yeah,
about major things like what do you do with a bank account? Let's talk
right.
like
Well, yeah,
money.
yeah. Because think about it. If Verizon is that serious about who they'll talk to and who they want on something as dumb as a cell phone plan, then how serious is the IRS? Your health insurance, your bank, your IRA, your financial advisor, your former employer, your landlord or mortgage company. So before we ever get to the dying part, we need to make sure we've got something in writing so that somebody can handle your business for you, right? So
Those
this is what we would call the durable power of attorney. Here's who I want to handle my business if I can't do it.
So for everybody else, because honestly, I had one of those goofy general power attorneys that gave nobody power to do nothing. Like something happened to me, they were pretty much like, this piece of paper means nothing. Then I thought I was going to get high speed and get a living will because I thought that was important. And it's only important if somebody actually takes it to the hospital with them, because if not, that piece of paper means nothing as well. I was like, so I had a collection of pieces of paper that meant nothing and that nobody could use. So what do people really need, John? If they're thinking
Yeah.
about it, tell
So
us.
on the incapacity part of it, this pre part of it, there's four things that I tell everybody walking around they ought to have. The first one is the durable power of attorney, what I call the business power of attorney. Covers all those business things. And really, this should cover everything. I mean, what about password retrieval,
Really?
right? If you pay your bills online and you're
Okay.
incapacitated, how is somebody going to pay those bills online if they can't get the password to the online bill paying?
Oh, wow. See, every time I talk to you, I'm like, never would have thought about it. Okay.
Right. So even somebody that's watching that has a power of attorney in place, go get it. See if anywhere in there it says anything about password retrieval.
If you had the one I had, trust me, it doesn't. By the way, John
Yeah.
made my new ones because I know it doesn't. I was like, yeah, that's not there. No.
So that's the first one. That covers everything except for medical decisions. For that, you have a medical power of attorney. It's the same concept, right? I'm at the hospital. I'm unconscious. The doctor thinks I need surgery. If I get the surgery, I might die from it. But if I don't die from it, I'll be better. If
Okay.
I don't get the surgery, I may be a vegetable forever. So who makes that decision? That's a tough decision. Who's going to make that decision? Because I can't. I'm unconscious. So this is the medical power of attorney. Number three is anybody who's going to make a medical decision is going to need access to medical information. And we have a little friend out there called the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, better known as HIPAA, that basically says that all the people you would want to know about your medical information are prohibited from seeing. Your spouse, your kids, your parents, none of those people have access to your medical information without your signed written authorization.
Which only comes in handy if you knew they were going to need it. Because at this point in time, if you can't talk and you're semi ready to die,
It's too late.
what good is that going to do? You can't sign this piece of paper.
Yeah, no, we actually get these calls probably at least once a week. Somebody will call and they'll say, my dad's had a stroke. He's up at the hospital. He's unconscious. He's on a ventilator. We need to get a power of attorney.
Oh my God.
Did you not think through this a little bit? What are we going to, what are we going to do? Hold his hand up and forge his name? No, this is what you do before this happens.
Because
Right?
right now I'm like, that just sounds so illegal in so many different ways. It's like, what? He's not
Yeah.
conscious. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and a lot of times they're just confused. They don't know what to do. And so anyway, the fourth thing is the directive to physicians. This is also known as a living will. This is the last decision you'll ever make, because this is the one that says that if your medical condition has gotten to the point where the only way you're going to keep on living is with breathing machines, feeding tubes, things like that, you're going to die no matter what. It's when, right? Do you want to stay indefinitely on those machines, or would you rather move on? And it's your job to decide that. It's not your family's job to decide that. Don't leave that. If you think about it, right? You like me, right? We're friends, we're buddies, right? Well, here I am. I'm laying on the hospital bed. I'm on a vent. I'm unconscious. They're pumping air into me. They're pumping food into me. The doctor's standing there telling you, John's a dead man, right? Now, I'm going to die, period. The question becomes to you, if you're holding my living will and it says John doesn't want to live like this,
Mm-hmm.
then you get to walk out of that room knowing that you followed my directive, right? You're sad, you lost your buddy, but ultimately you did what I wanted to do. Now, let's say I didn't do that. You don't have any idea what I want.
John, that's
Now,
hard.
you're going to end up deciding, well, look, John probably didn't want to live like that. So go ahead and turn those machines off. The end result's the same, right? So I'm dead either way.
Okay.
But this time, you walk out of that hospital room second guessing your decision.
Oh.
Did I do the right thing? I don't know. And you're gonna deal with survivor guilt for some period of time, right? Don't do that to your loved ones. Decide. That way they know what you want, right? So those four things: the durable power of attorney, medical power of attorney, HIPAA release, and that living will. People will ask me, they say, John, how old do I need to be before I have to start thinking about these sort of things?
That was my next question, so I'm glad you're going to cover.
18. This is what my kids get for their 18th birthday. They love me.
I can only imagine. This is Dad. What am I getting? Here's a whole packet of paperwork. Let me get
Yes,
you ready.
you get legal documents.
Why 18, John? Why would that be so important at this age?
Well, before 18, you're a minor, so you can't make decisions for yourself. Your parents
Okay.
make those decisions for you, right? The
Right.
minute you turn 18, you are a legal adult. So, for example, if my daughter, who's off at Texas A&M, gets into a car wreck,
Okay.
and there's something's going on, and Blue Cross Blue Shield is refusing to pay for the care, and she's covered under my health insurance. This is my Blue Cross policy, right? If I
Right.
call Blue Cross and say, "Hey, I need to talk about this," they cannot talk to me. It's a
Oh.
HIPAA,
Okay.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's her protected medical information, and without her authorization, Blue Cross Blue Shield cannot talk to me, even if it's my policy.
I was not aware of that. I don't know if our audience listening and watching is actually familiar with how specific the law is, especially for health information, even if they're under your insurance once they turn 18. That is huge.
Yeah, it is, and this is a hard thing to have to explain to a parent when they're already in that situation, because they call and they say, "But it's my child." So what? They're
That is true.
18. I mean, that's it. They're 18. And so all four of those things, the alternative to that, if you do not have these things in place
Hmm.
and somebody needs to do any of the things that we just talked about, their only other option is going to be to go to court.
Really?
You, yes, you're going to be going to court. A judge is going to make a decision about the fact that that person is now incompetent. They're going to decide who ought to be the guardian, which may or may not be the person you wanted,
Oh my God.
right?
Hmm.
Anybody can petition to be guardian of somebody else.
What
Now,
do you
there's
mean? Okay, hold on. What do you mean anybody can petition? Like, if I'm incapacitated, I can have Joe down the street petition this?
so perfect example. There was a case in one of our surrounding towns where there was a gentleman. He had had a stroke. He was incapacitated. He's in
Okay.
the hospital. His mechanic filed for guardianship.
Did he
This
get
guy,
it?
the incapacitated person had a wife. He had kids, adult children,
Okay.
but it was the mechanic. And the reason was because he owed the mechanic money,
Oh my God. So,
right? And now I'm not saying that the mechanic, ultimately, this became a whole contested thing. We've got the family fighting against the mechanic to decide who's going to be in charge of this guy. You don't want that.
no, nor does your family cannot handle these kind of things when they're trying to deal with what am I doing with my loved one? Can you that is horrible.
Right. Yeah. So you're in the middle of this whole emotional struggle dealing with the loss of this person, their tragic medical situation. And in the meantime, you're having to deal with courts, lawyers,
Ooh.
and all of this other stuff. No, you don't want that.
The fact that you told me anybody can petition, I was like, I'm so happy I got my paperwork straight because I'm going, Lord have mercy. So, John,
Yeah.
does the rules apply across the state, or is it across the United States, or is it state specific? How does that work?
The rules are state specific, but everything that we've talked about so far would be applicable anywhere in the United States.
Okay.
The way you did it, right? The format of, say, that medical power of attorney might be slightly different between Texas or Oregon or New York, but the concept of having one is the same everywhere.
So, for people like me, like my parents are in Massachusetts, and I'm in this stage in my life as I get older, the reality kind of kicks in. I was like, oh my God, am I prepared if something happens to my family, to my parents? Who's making the decisions? Because there's three of us, and we're scattered across the street. So, could I get my parents started on that from Massachusetts and put me as, the person responsible? Or do I need to start it here? How does that work? What do I need
Yeah,
to
well,
do?
so their location would be probably the most important thing. So
Okay.
there may be specific laws in Michigan that they need to make sure that they comply with because that's where they're at.
Okay.
Um, but there's nothing stopping them from appointing you, even though you are not in Michigan. That's fine. You can be wherever you want. And if you do something that's valid in one state, then that is also going to follow you around. So, for example, if they get some Michigan documents, powers of attorney, and all that, they are coming to Texas to see their daughter when something happens,
Okay.
right? That Texas hospital is still going to honor that Michigan power of attorney because it was valid in Michigan.
Okay.
This is the same reason you can go to Vegas and get married and you're still married when you come back to Texas, right? Something that's valid in one state is valid in all the other states.
It is awesome for anybody who has family that is separated. Anytime you're looking at what should I do, should I start planning? Yes, it is definitely something we should start planning. And it's the reason we're here today because sometimes we take it for granted. We think we have time. And like you said, a car crash happens to anybody. Let's be honest. You don't have to be
Right.
80 to get hit by a car. So when people start thinking about it, because these are stuff that became very hard. Somebody asked me, you're going to do your estate planning at your age? How do you start this conversation with family members who are not ready to think about they're going to pass away or if something's going to happen? How do we open those conversations?
Yeah, so this becomes very person specific. But because some people are pretty hesitant about this for some reason, and that reason is going to be particular to them. They may just not like it. They may find the whole discussion uncomfortable.
Hmm.
They may think, frankly, the only reason you're asking about estate planning is because you're trying to get them into the grave so you can get the money.
I've actually heard that before. Somebody asked one of my family members like about their wills, like, "Oh, you're trying to have me die and kill." And I was like, "Whoa, do we have to go
Right.
there?"
And then some people are frankly just a bit superstitious.
Okay.
Um, I, we recently got asked to come and do a home visit for a gentleman who was what they call actively dying.
What does that mean?
So he had had cancer for about a year,
Okay.
and now his body is shutting down.
Oh.
It's going to be possibly hours, maybe a day or two, right? So they're calling us on a Thursday because they don't think he's going to be alive on Monday, and he thinks now it's time. I need to get some estate planning done.
Ooh.
Well, obviously, duh. But and we got that done. We got it signed on Friday. He died on Saturday,
Oh my God.
right? But when we asked the family later, we were like, look, he had had this cancer diagnosis for a year. Why in the world did y'all wait until the last 24 hours? And the response was, well, we kind of felt like that was giving up. That
Okay.
we were hoping for recovery, and that if we did estate planning, that was somehow giving up. Stupid. That's dumb. You're gonna die. Maybe not from this, but one way or the other. It wasn't
Is
like if this cancer didn't kill him, that he was going to go back to his immortal being.
it is one of the guaranteed things we have in this world is we are going to die. Is how we
Yeah,
live this life that we have that is makes a difference. But yeah, we're going to die. This is a guaranteed. You're right. You're the only
yeah.
lawyer that can guarantee me that this is going to happen to me. Absolutely.
I've had lots and lots of clients over the years. Nobody has proved me wrong yet.
I believe that, unless and Lazarus is not around either. So you're probably right. This is guaranteed. So how do we open these conversations? What do we say to our family members?
Yeah, so a lot of times, and again, it kind of depends on who they are, what you know about them, And frankly, what do you, based on what you know about them, what's going to motivate them? As a general rule, I would say, particularly with the older crowd, the retirement age and above, these folks have one of three concerns. They either do not want to go to a nursing home,
Okay.
or they do not want to go broke during their retirement years, or they do not want to be a burden on their family.
All three of these are very valid things. So, and I've heard a lot of
Right.
those questions. So, yes.
And so when I'm talking to people, oftentimes, I'm trying to get an idea of which one of those three is going to be the most important to them.
Okay.
And so I'll talk about what nursing home care costs and things like that, and I'll get the response of, I ain't never going to no nursing home, right? Well, okay, that's obviously clearly an issue for them, or I'm just talking to them and they just say, I just don't want to bother any of my kids. I just want to make it a nice smooth. That's what I want. I don't want them to have to do a bunch of stuff. That's their concern.
Hmm.
And so I try to feel those things out and then point out that we can address all three of those issues in some way, shape, or form. Right? If you don't want to go to a nursing home, that's fine. But how are you going to pay for your care to stay at home? An in-home caregiver is going to cost 15, $20 an hour. If you need 24-hour a day care, you're what at $400 a day?
Ooh, yeah, that adds up very
12,000.
quickly.
Yeah. How are you going to pay for that? So let's talk about that. Maybe we need to put some asset protection in place so that you could qualify for your government assistance to pay for home care without having to exhaust all your resources. And that's going to allow you to age in at home instead of having to go to a nursing home, right? Bam. Now we've got that conversation rolling.
And
You
that's
know,
huge. That alone will make a lot of people go, "Oh my God, there is those conversations you can have with people." Absolutely.
yeah. And again, you kind of find out what motivates them. And a lot of times, instead of going at it directly to them, everybody has had an experience through a friend, right? So your parents may be completely opposed to talking about estate planning, but they've heard their friends at Sunday school, at church, in their bridge club, or whatever it is that they do, and their friend Mabel, her husband had a stroke, and it was a train wreck, and
Yep.
and that one dirtbag kid of his came in, and it was just this whole mess. And you can use that a lot of times as the motivating factor. Remember that story you told me about Mabel? I wonder what we need to do to keep that sort of thing from happening. Right? It's not. Hey, you need to do some planning. Right? It's we need to keep what happened Mabel from happening to you.
Those are huge conversations, and I think sometimes we're always going, what are they going to think if I bring it up? What am I going to say? My parents were going to Dominican Republic a couple years ago, and my mom was giving me the list of where the money was in the bank accounts, and I was like, that's not going to help. What am I going to do with this? Like, I can't call anybody with that. So it got
Right.
me, yeah, like, okay, that's great, and what am I doing with this? That's, I can find the paperwork and then pray. But it became those conversations, and I listened to it. We're getting at an age that a lot of the people we know are passing, or they're dying, or they're having these situations where they're having to go to nursing homes, and people going, what do we do? So, what advice do you give to elderlies as well as their children to start thinking about it? Because this is one of those things that is dear to my heart, because you hear the horror stories of all the elderly that lost everything and had to go to a nursing home.
Yeah, and that's where people need to understand they don't necessarily have to know all the rules of what's available out there. And that's why you have experts, right? But they've got to know that there are things that can be done. For example, there's this kind of rumor that if you go to a nursing home, the nursing home is going to take your house.
Yes, I've heard that a lot. So Give us
right?
the whole truth.
Yeah, I have people come in all the time and they say, well, I need to make sure that the nursing home doesn't get in my house. Well, so first of all, nursing homes are not in the real estate business. They don't want your house, right? It's rent. If you go to the Holiday Inn tonight, it's going to cost you $150.
Yep.
And when you get up, you're going to have free breakfast. If you go to the nursing home tonight, it's going to cost you $150. You're going to get dinner tonight, breakfast in the morning, lunch, and then they're going to ask for another $150.
Right.
You can stay at either the Holiday Inn or the nursing home for $150 a night for as long as you want. And Holiday Inn ain't going to take your house, and the nursing home ain't going to take your house.
That's such a great example, but I'm like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Right? So the problem is that most people, when you take $150 and you multiply that by 30, you start rolling up into the 4, maybe 5, and in some locations $6,000 or $7,000 a month. Most people cannot afford that,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're going to end up needing some sort of benefit like a Medicaid. But just for example, in Texas Medicaid will pay for your nursing home care, and you still own a home worth up to $595,000.
Are you serious? Because most people have told me I need to give my house to my sister, cousin, whatever, because their family might go into the nursing home and they're going to lose the house. And I'm like, what? Wait, don't do that. Like, stop,
Yeah,
please. We need to
yeah.
talk to
First of all,
somebody.
that's a terrible idea, right?
Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, say what?
So yeah, quick example. I had a lady, she convinced that if she ever went to the nursing home, they were going to take her house, right? So she got to get rid of it. So she
Yes.
goes and deeds it to her son,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
That he gets killed in a car wreck 2 years later.
Oh my God. Okay.
He has a son from a woman that he knew briefly.
John, this story is going bad to worse. Okay.
So son's dead.
Mm-hmm.
His property, which includes mom's house, is now inherited by his 2-year-old,
Oh God.
which means it's not really going to the 2-year-old. It's going to the baby's mama, who says, that's my house now. Get out.
Oh my God.
And proceeds to evict the lady from her own home.
Okay, so for everybody listening and watching, please do not be changing property, doing anything before you consult an expert. Like, this is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. So we don't give stuff away. I
No.
mean, we just don't do that, right? But where this rumor comes from, if you are on Medicaid while you're alive, the state would like to get paid back when you die.
Okay.
All right. This is called the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program.
Okay.
There's 4 words in there, and only one of them is important. It's the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program, and the only thing that matters in there is estate.
Okay. Why? Do tell, because now I'm curious. Like, what does that mean?
So let's say I go and get me a life insurance policy,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I sign up for this policy, they're going to ask me to name a beneficiary.
Right.
And I say, well, it feels nice enough, so I'll just write your name on there. So I've named you as the beneficiary on the contract.
Okay.
Okay? A couple of months goes by. You don't write, you don't call, you don't come over for lunch on Sunday.
I was busy. It happens.
There's no likes on my Facebook posts. I'm
They're
not
really
getting that
busy.
little heart on my Instagram. None of that's happening. So after a couple of months, I get mad one night and I make out a will.
Okay.
And in my will, I say, I've got this life insurance policy that's payable to Sil, but I don't want her to get a dime of it. I want all my life insurance to go to my best friend, Chuck. Right?
I don't
I
like
get
Chuck,
the,
but okay.
I get the will signed, I get it witnessed, I get it notarized, the whole deal. And I'm so happy I do all of this, I fall over dead. Now, we got a pickle. Policy names you.
Right. Who gets the
Will
money?
names you. Yeah, you do. No question. By naming you as a beneficiary,
Mm-hmm.
On the policy, this is what we would call a non-probate transfer.
Okay.
As soon as I die, just like that, it's yours.
Okay.
This property did not go through my estate.
Okay.
My will only controls what passes through my estate. And since that wasn't part of my estate, that's why it didn't go to Chuck,
Okay.
right?
I'm still tracking.
Medicaid has a claim against my
State.
estate,
Okay.
right? So let's say I've got my house, right? My house is in my name, and I've got big house, right? So because again, I can have a big house and qualify for Medicaid. So
Five hundred
I go
thousand.
to
Listen, 500,000 in Texas is a huge house. So let's
that's a
be
lot
honest
of
about
house.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
unless it's Austin. But yeah, otherwise, if it's not Austin, then yeah, it's a big house.
It's a big house. Let's stick with a big
In
house.
Austin, it's a flood, but outside of Austin, it's normal. All right. Anyway, so I've got a big house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go to the nursing home. I qualify for Medicaid. I stay there for years. I rack up this huge bill. But before I die, at some point, I do up a little deed on that house, and I say it's my house. I can do with it whatever I want. But when I die, here's who gets the house. I have just named a beneficiary on my house,
Ooh. Okay.
which means when I die, it's going to pass automatically to that person outside of my estate. And so Medicaid's claim ain't going to touch it. It's over.
This should put a lot of people's minds at ease because that's one of the biggest things I hear all the time is I need to put my house in somebody's name because if I have to go to a nursing home, they're going to lose everything. And you're going, please don't do anything until you talk to somebody. Like, and every time I have this conversation, it's like, have you met John Ross? Because you really should go talk to John. Please don't do that. Like, don't,
Yeah,
whatever
and
you're thinking of.
yeah, this is just an example because there's so many different ways. But in this example, you kept your home, you kept your asset, your property taxes didn't change, nothing changed, and you're still left the house to the people you wanted, and you just didn't have anything to worry about. So it's just a matter of knowing the rules, knowing what options are available, and most people just don't. Instead, they listen to what Mabel did, which may or may not be right. They
Hmm.
follow that, or they get on, or even worse, they get on Google and try to figure it out.
Yes.
And so yeah, you get good advice and follow that.
John, it is, we have come to our time, and I can talk to you for hours. For everybody who knows me, I can talk for hours, period. But I can talk to you for hours because you have so much information and there's so much wealth that we should literally just touch the like tip of the iceberg for everybody watching. The reason we're here today is to give you some tips, to give you some tools, to give you some information, and hopefully to clarify some of these rumors that are going around that people are panicking about. So if you never consider estate planning, if you never thought about I'm too young to do this. Listen to John. This is you're never too young. The only thing we do have guaranteed is yes, we're all going to pass. Can you make your life and the life of the people you love a little easier? So John, thank you for coming. Do you have anything else you want to close with us before we leave?
No, hey, that was great. I just appreciate you letting me come on and talk to everybody.
I absolutely adore you. You do such an amazing job. And for everybody who's not familiar, John does tons of training, tons of classes for free because he's getting ready to come to my Rotary Club to come and give us the same lesson because I'm going, I don't know if you guys know this. I need to get you guys all ready for this. It is something I'm very passionate about because it is a peace of mind that will help everybody start living your dreams and help you get prepared, get your family prepared, and get you guys where you need to be. So, with that in mind, we'll be back in 2 weeks. John, thank you so much, Harley. It's been a pleasure. And to
Absolutely.
everybody watching, I believe in you. I know your dreams are amazing. Please follow your dreams and start planning. So, guys, see you guys in 2 weeks and have an amazing day.